Hey, Munster Steel looking for a place to come. Hammond's among one of the suitors. Do you know
Right.
what can you comment on that?
Well, I could comment that our plans took a hit the other day at the council meeting when confidential data that was not supposed to be released to the public was released to the public by the council president. He's a member of the UEA, and as a member of the UEA, he gets confidential packets about economic development deals that we're doing, and the councilman figured it was a good idea to release that confidential information to the public, and that's how it was picked up by the Times, which is unacceptable. I mean, I don't understand how that happened, but it happened, and we're embarrassed about it, obviously, and it's nothing that my administration did. My administration protected the confidentiality like we were supposed to. You know, we have the council president's also a member of the UEA. He got access to this information that way. But I hope that our plans didn't take a blow. I know that we called Munster Steel yesterday and apologized and talked to the people in charge of Munster Steel, and hopefully that dumb mistake didn't derail our plans, because we have a great location for Munster Steel. We made good progress with Munster Steel. We want Munster Steel, and then this happens at the stupid council meeting the other day. It's annoying. I mean, all this work could have been torpedoed.
You know, it's a fine line. First of all, let's talk about Munster Steel. Is if you guys remember in 2008, would it have been, or 07? Would have been 8, and Barack Obama spoke there during his campaign, but it's at the corner of Calumet Avenue and 45th and Munster, and it has to go because they're going to put an underpass underneath those tracks soon, and they've got to move. It's a multi-million-dollar facility, and now that it's out in the open, I mean, we're talking about Hammond being one of the possibilities over here off Columbia and Gosselin, I believe. And I guess you run a fine line with these economic development projects, because one thing is to have open and transparent government, and then at the other time you're dealing with private companies that don't want everybody to know what they're doing. So, you know what, I can only talk as a private company. I'd probably be a little miffed right now.
Absolutely.
I don't want people to know what I'm doing.
Absolutely,
You know
Jim.
what I mean?
If you were negotiating with my economic development team and you gave us private information about your business, expecting it to stay within my economic development team, and somehow that got out to the public and ended up in the newspaper, you'd be a little miffed. I mean, it's completely unprofessional, and I would ask the council. I'm not going to try to embarrass this particular councilman. It's not hard to figure out who I'm talking about. But I'm going to ask the council that if they're going to get involved in economic development projects with my administration, they got to keep this stuff secret. That's completely unacceptable what happened at the council meeting, and it's embarrassing. And I hope Munster Steel is listening to this, because this was not the administration that did it. It was the council president that had access to that information and released it to the public, got picked up by the newspaper, and now it's on the front page. It doesn't make any sense. It actually hinders our ability to bring in companies when you have people
Hey,
acting
you know what?
unprofessionally
We
like
can
that.
talk about anything right now. I want to talk about politics. What's going on between John Buntich and Roy Dominguez? And what? Hold on. And the only reason I ask that is because you're the Lake County Democratic chairman, and you've got two very prominent Democrats. They've never really liked each other. Now it's kind of going deeper right now.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Sheriff Buntich, I think, is just trying to do his job at this point, and there's a number of things that have come out since he's taken over that make Roy Dominguez look bad. I mean, but the fact is, when you have all of your top lieutenants getting indicted, I mean, Sheriff Buntich didn't do that. That was the federal government that did that. I mean, you know,
What's happening, Mayor, is that John Buntich came into office, and I had him in here yesterday, and he said I'd taken a full accounting of what was going on,
right,
and I wasn't happy with it. And Dominguez came back in a column, which was the first time he'd really say this. I thought this was kind of big. Dominguez was coming back and saying, hey, this is just personal politics.
I saw that also.
And did you see that? And I was like, wow, that's pretty deep.
He says that basically Buntich is going through looking for stuff and trying to make him look bad.
Yeah, that was basically what he said. And that kind of took the discourse to another level between the two.
But Jim, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if the federal government indicts your top lieutenants, that has nothing to do with John Buntich. If there was no legitimacy to some of the complaints about gun running and stuff like that, If there was no legitimacy, the federal government would never get involved and waste their time indicting, I think, 5 or 6 officials, including the sheriff's top cop. I mean, the fact is, and I don't know, I'm not a sheriff, I'm not an employee of the sheriff's department. All I know is it doesn't look good for Roy Dominguez, and and now I guess he's talking about running against a very popular county commissioner. I mean, and Roy's got, last I heard, Roy was running for governor. I guess he's not running for governor anymore. But I mean, you know where I am. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the former sheriff. John and I get along very well. I think John's doing a great job as sheriff. I really do. I think that in Hammond, we have better coverage than we did when Sheriff Dominguez was sheriff. John Bunches is doing a better job, in my opinion, as mayor. I remember calling the sheriff up shortly after he took over. I saw a Lake County sheriff pull somebody over on Calumet Avenue, and I sat there and I said, I don't think I've ever seen that. I was mayor for 7 years, and I'd never seen a sheriff pull over anybody in Hammond until John Bunches took over. So, I mean, I could tell you as mayor, not just because I'm not a big fan of Roy Dominguez, I'm not a big fan of Roy Dominguez, but in my opinion, as mayor, I think he did a terrible job as sheriff. A terrible job. I think John Bunches is doing night and day better. That's just my opinion. But don't get me wrong, I don't like Dominguez at all. So I think John Bunches is doing a much better job as sheriff.
What does that mean for your party?
It means that I'm going to support Jerry Shub, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure Jerry Shub beats Roy Dominguez. And I think he will. I think Jerry Shub is going to mop the floor with Roy Dominguez in that race.
Okay.
And Roy Dominguez is not the incumbent, so I don't have to support him either. I support the incumbents. Jerry Shub is the incumbent. I think Jerry Shub is going to take it to Roy Dominguez in that race. I hope Roy runs for it. I really do.